Very much, Mr Deputy Speaker, and I add my congratulations to my honourable friend, the member for Buckingham, and wish him also a happy birthday. Mr Deputy Speaker, the Countryside Alliance has conducted an annual survey of rural communities' experiences and perceptions recently. The 2021 survey revealed that 43% of respondents reported having had a crime committed against them in the last year. Of those, 32% reported having experienced agricultural theft, which was the third most reported crime. In 2020 survey, the agricultural machinery theft was reported as the respondents' top priority for police to tackle. So that's what this bill is about. And in my case, a local farmer in Loughborough has recently been targeted, having had £2,000 worth of GPS equipment stolen from a tractor. He highlighted that it is a common occurrence and that he has already taken extensive security measures, which of course cost a great deal of money in themselves, on the farm following previous thefts, including locked gates at every entrance, video cameras, motion activation sirens and locks on all sheds. However, unfortunately, often machinery has to be left in the fields in remote locations during busy times of the year, which is when criminals tend to strike. I would therefore be keen for all types of farming equipment to be included in this registration process. He is a farmer I've met on many occasions. He is a very hard-working farmer, as are many farmers across the country. But this gentleman works very hard indeed. It is wrong that he should have to think of these things and to take all these measures and spend all that money. The bill gives the Secretary of State the power to make regulations that require all-terrain vehicles and quad bikes to be fitted with immobilisers and forensic markings, and owners' details to be registered on a database. On the first issue, the National Farmers Union has highlighted that shipping delays and the effects of the COVID pandemic and Brexit are contributing to a rise in demand for both new and second-hand farm machinery. NFNU members have reported that the lack of availability of ATVs has resulted in it taking 3 to 6 months to replace a stolen vehicle, and that the cost has risen dramatically. As waiting lists grow and market values soar, thieves are seeing quads and ATVs as expensive, easily portable, hot-ticket items with a ready resale market in this country and abroad. Thefts are therefore hitting farmers twice as hard because of the difficulties in getting replacement vehicles. The financial impact of these incidents is exacerbated further at a time when energy and feed costs are soaring. Requiring that new machinery to be fitted with a prominent and visible engine immobiliser should provide a deterrent effect to making it harder to steal, thereby decreasing the attractiveness to thieves. The second part of the bill requires that owners' details be registered on a database. That will make it easier for police to investigate thefts and return stolen goods to their owners. It will also make it easier for legitimate owners to demonstrate their title in case that is required during an investigation into suspected theft. That is a positive step and of immense importance to small businesses in Loughborough and, of course, beyond. Last October, Tradespeople Against Tool Theft published a white paper exploring the realities of UK tradespeople who have had their tools stolen. The paper found that 78% of tradespeople surveyed had their tools stolen and 38.5% had had them stolen from their van outside their home. Only 1% of tradespeople fully recovered their stolen tools. Some trades appear to have more desirable targets for thieves. 30% of carpenters have had their tools stolen 4 times or more. A highly skilled plumber in my constituency has campaigned tirelessly on this issue at a national level with his campaign #NoVamber. Reports of the campaign said, based in Loughborough, independent plumber Peter Booth launched a petition aiming to get the issue of van theft taken more seriously. His #NoVamber social media campaign calls on the government to look at increasing ways to protect tradespeople from van tool theft. A report by Power Tools to You claimed that a van has its tools stolen every 23 minutes in the UK, with an average of 62 thefts per day. Mr Peter Booth added, "I got tired of seeing photos and stories from tradespeople who had their vans targeted and tools stolen, stopping them from working. I didn't think it was fair. I wanted to gather support using social media influence to try and get the government to look at the possible ways to help make this crime less profitable for culprits." The impact of equipment theft on victims can be wide-ranging, including the financial costs and the emotional and psychological impact. Financially, there is not only the cost of replacing the stolen equipment, but the potential loss of business due to the delays in sourcing new tools. The Federation of Master Builders found that over a builder's career, they will typically lose £10,000 worth of tools and 6 working days to tool theft. Alongside that, the FMB has reported that tool theft is causing 15% of builders to suffer from anxiety and 11% to suffer from depression. The Chief Executive of the FMB said, "Decisive action is needed to tackle tool theft. 8 in 10 builders report that they have had their tools stolen before. This is causing mental health issues amongst builders, with reports of depression, anxiety, anger, frustration, stress and even suicidal thoughts." Peter Booth worked on this petition alongside my predecessor, the Right Honourable Nicky Morgan, now in the other place, and called on the government to consider what more could be done to tackle van theft and tool theft. The petition was signed by 40,262 people. In conclusion, the bill is a good framework which will most certainly help farmers and small businesses, with all farmers who feed our country and all tradespeople who are the very backbone of the economy of this country and should in both cases be supported. I welcome this bill and congratulate my honourable friend for Buckingham on his work on this topic. A very good use of a birthday.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Speaker. It's a great pleasure to be appearing here for this important third reading. Let me begin by thanking members for joining us today, particularly those who may have been elsewhere yesterday, perhaps in some cases having quite late nights, who knows. But let me extend a particularly warm thank you to my honourable friend, the member for Buckingham, for taking the initiative by pursuing this private member's bill with such eloquence, tenacity and ability. I think he's managed to corral cross-party support from the government, support from the opposition front bench, as well as members across the House. So I congratulate him for that, and of course add my birthday felicitations to those that have already been expressed. He's made a very good job of this bill. The government has supported this bill from the outset, and I think we've heard both in its second reading at committee and today in this third reading resounding support for this bill from across this House. It's a great example of how backbench members of Parliament, the government and law enforcement can work together to prevent hard-working people from various forms of theft. In fact, speaking of that, and on the point about enforcement, which the Shadow Minister mentioned, earlier this week, just a couple of days ago, I met with Superintendent Huddleston, the National Police Chief Council's Rural Crime Coordinator, together with David Exwood, the Vice President of the National Farmers Union, to discuss the significant impact this bill will have helping and protecting farmers, given the effect these thefts have on individuals and on businesses. The theft of agricultural vehicles from a farmer can cause severe disruption to essential cultivation work, as well as risking animal welfare and putting livelihoods on the line. Now, in relation to the question about enforcement, which the Shadow Minister asked about, we are, of course, almost at the end of our programme to recruit an extra 20,000 police officers, and when that programme is concluded in just a few weeks' time, we will have more police officers across England and Wales than at any point in our country's history, higher than the previous peak under the last Labour government. We are going to substantially exceed that previous number and deliver record numbers of officers, including in rural areas where they will be able to police laws like this. It's a Conservative government that has delivered those record numbers. Now, Mr Deputy Speaker, we expect to see, as a result of this legislation, a real decrease in the theft of all-terrain vehicles. The introduction of this extremely effective technology, immobilisers and forensic marking, will certainly help prevent theft, deter theft and enable detection afterwards in the case of forensic marking. It'll make it harder for criminals to sell on stolen machinery, having an important deterrent effect. Now, Mr Deputy Speaker, we've heard that the theft of agricultural machinery, and in particular all-terrain vehicles, is of great concern. We recognise the distress caused when that property is stolen. And we have heard, as members and the Shadow Minister has said today, that there is a very strong desire from both sides of the House to make sure that the statutory instruments, when they are introduced under this bill, go beyond just all-terrain vehicles and look as well at larger and other forms of agricultural equipment and also tools used by tradespeople that we've heard the member for Loughborough and others, and indeed the Shadow Minister, talk about. And it is, I can confirm, to answer the Shadow Minister's question, that it is my intention to bring forward statutory instruments under this bill which deal not just with ATVs but also with other agricultural machinery and also high-value tradespeople's tools as well. Now, of course, we're going to have to consult to make sure we get the details of that right, but I would like us to cover all of those things. This excellent bill confers the flexibility to do that. It may have been conceived initially with ATVs in mind, but as we see from Clause 1, subsection 2, its scope is far wider and it provides a statutory basis to cover in secondary legislation not just ATVs, but any mechanically propelled vehicle with an engine capacity over 250 cubic centimetres, designed for off-road use, which includes a whole load of other agricultural machinery as well. And in Clause 1, subsection 2, sub B, it says quite clearly that other equipment, I'm quoting, other equipment designed or adapted primarily for use in agricultural or commercial activities, including, of course, for builders and tradespeople, is covered as well. And it strikes me as sensible that we use the powers in this bill to address those areas as well. Of course, I give way.
I thank the Minister very much indeed for giving way, and also particularly for what you've just done there. I think that is an amazing thing, and there'll be lots and lots of small businesses out there in particular who will be very grateful for what you've just done. Thank you very much.
Well, I think this is a good example of the parliamentary scrutiny delivering improvements, because these were issues that were raised very forcefully by the member for Loughborough and others during the second reading and during the committee stage of this bill, and I think it's something the government can, should and will respond to. Of course, we need to do proper consultations with industry groups and others to make sure we get the details of this right, but it strikes me as an important thing to do, as members on both sides have pointed out, and it will, without question, will benefit the entire economy by reducing theft. And I'm happy to make that clear once again this afternoon during the passage of this bill in its third reading. Those consultations, of course, are very important. We do need to get the details right, as I've said already. So we are going to work, obviously, with industry groups. We're going to work with the police-led National Business Crime Centre and the Combined Industries Theft Solutions Group to help us understand the details. And we are grateful for the expertise those bodies bring to bear in this area. I would like to conclude, often the most popular line in a speech that I give, conclude by saying, put on record my thanks to the National Farmers Union and the National Police Chiefs Council lead for construction and agricultural machinery theft, Superintendent Andy Huddleston, who, as I mentioned, I met just a few days ago, for their work in developing the measures in this bill. But most of all, I would like to thank my honourable friend and birthday boy, the Honourable Member for Buckingham, for the initiative he has shown in bringing forward this measure.
With the leave of the House, Greg Smith to wind up the debate.
With the leave of the House, Mr Deputy Speaker, can I thank all honourable and right honourable members for the contributions they've made this afternoon, not least in their very kind words in wishing me a happy birthday, I can recommend to all honourable and right honourable members that a sitting Friday is the perfect definition of what a good birthday looks like.
Happy birthday.
In particular, can I thank my honourable friend and constituency neighbour for Aylesbury, who has supported this bill throughout, for his contribution pointing out that demand right now is outstripping supply, which is giving a far greater urgency to the need for the provisions of this bill. To my honourable friend for North West Norfolk, who, like me, is a fan of Clarkson's Farm, which has obviously done more to bring the British public closer to the realities of British farming than Country File has managed in decades, but for pointing out that GPS units are a particularly targeted item of equipment at the moment, and particularly as farms have moved to a reliance on GPS units for spraying, for drilling and for bringing the harvest in with the combine. The loss of that bit of equipment has a massive impact on yields, on the ability to feed the nation. To the honourable lady for Newport West, making a very, very valid point about hill farmers and the reliance on quad bikes and ATVs. I don't have many hill farms in my constituency, but I know in many parts of the country that is incredibly important. My old friend for South Cambridgeshire, for his reference to the Pig and Abbott pub rural crime survey, he highlighted very effectively the 30 farms he spoke to. All 30 had been a victim of rural crime, underlining the necessity for this bill. To my old friend for West Dorset, for pointing out that we do need to ensure that rural crime is a priority for the additional police officers that this government is recruiting. To my old friend for Hastings and Rye for her support, and indeed being one of those voices to push for the extension of this bill into many other sectors, including tool theft. To my honourable friend for Loughborough, who I really do have to give a special thank you to, who was there supporting me in the original iteration of this bill when it was a 10-minute rule bill a couple of years ago, all the way through second reading committee and now third reading. I'm very grateful to her support and for her particular voice, as acknowledged by my right honourable friend, the Minister, a few moments ago, in ensuring that we did get this bill beyond just quad bikes and ATVs and to protecting all of our trades up and down the land from tool theft. To my honourable friend for South West Hertfordshire, another constituency neighbour, to the very valid point that he made on the stress that equipment theft brings to farmers, to tradespeople, that when that equipment is gone and people can't do their job, they can't earn their living, their livelihoods are brought under question, particularly in agriculture, where when the crops kind of come in, it's got to come in. And if you've lost that equipment, it has such a huge impact on food production and indeed on animal welfare that these pieces of equipment have been so vital to ensuring our farmers are able to deliver. Grateful once again to the opposition, to the honourable gentleman for Aberavon. He may not have many combine or tractor thefts from his own constituency, but I can assure him, just as to the point I just made, when a combine is stolen, when agricultural machinery is stolen, that has an impact on all of us, because that has an impact on the food production that our farmers up and down the land are able to deliver, and we will all go hungry if farmers aren't able to do the work that they want to do. But I once more place my very sincere thanks and gratitude to the opposition for supporting this bill and enabling its smooth passage thus far. My right honourable friend, the Minister, has been a great support throughout the process of this bill. I've been grateful for the conversations we've had outside the chamber as well as inside it and in committee. I'm grateful for the government's support, and I'm particularly grateful for his comments this afternoon that this bill can go further, that those provisions on the face of the bill to enable him and the Home Secretary to bring secondary legislation to expand the scope of this bill will make a huge difference to defend our farmers, to defend our tradespeople, to defend everybody who depends on equipment to go about their day-to-day lives. This bill, I am absolutely confident, will make a huge difference, and I'm grateful to the Minister for his enthusiasm and support in making it happen. And so finally, Mr. Deputy Speaker, an enormous number of people have contributed to getting this bill to where it is this afternoon. So can I once more place on record my thanks and gratitude to Superintendent Andy Huddleston, to Inspector Hutchins from the Thames Valley Police Rural Crime Task Force, to Anna Dawson and the whole office team at the Home Office for the support they've given throughout this process, sitting with me in one of those first round tables with manufacturers at Yamaha in Reading throughout to getting the bill to this point, to the NFU Vice President David Exwood and the whole team at the National Farmers Union and NFU Mutual for their support, for the expert advice and the efficiency of the Public Bill Office, particularly Anne-Marie Griffiths, who has supported me so ably in getting all of the details and all of the right procedures in place for this bill. To my senior parliamentary assistant, Ian Kelly, who has done an enormous amount of heavy lifting to support me in getting us to where we are today. And finally, as hopefully the bill leaves this House and goes to the other place, to my noble friend, the Lord Blencathra, who, when he was a member of this House, specialised in talking out private members' bills. I'm delighted he has agreed to pilot it through the House of Lords, and I hope, I'm very confident that he will do so with great skill and ability and ensure that this bill, that can do so much for rural Britain, so much for our farmers, and so much for our tradespeople, whichever trade they are in, can make a huge and lasting difference.
Question is that the bill be now read the third time. As many of that opinion say aye. Aye. Contrary, no. The honourable gentleman has his birthday present. The ayes have it.